This happened years ago when I was about 8 and my older brother was 10. My dad was stationed in Japan and this was about 3 years in, so we were very familiar with the area. No one thinks badly of my mother, who is amazing. Crime was punished with incredible severity, so it was normally very safe to be out by ourselves. We decide to walk the 5 blocks off base to our favorite store to buy some new toys with our allowance. It also had a huge arcade on the very top level, about 20 floors up. We go out the base gate, across the tracks, and make our one left turn to go to the store. It's a straight shot from the gate really. As we pass one of the first shops, I notice an Arab man in an all-white traditional dress loitering in the alleyway. He stood out not only because of his dress, but also because really anyone non-Asian stands out in that part of Japan. So we both see him but don't really think too much of it until he steps out behind us after about half a block. We both take note, but it's not too strange, so we keep walking. Then he starts gradually catching up to us, deliberately enough that we both look at each other and can see we are equally uncomfortable. My mother had her own past traumas and so was always very open about the dangers children faced, and I immediately had the feeling that this guy was not right. Something was off. So seeing the look on my face, my older brother leans in and says, "Let's see if he is," and we proceed to both speed up our pace and take a right, then 2 left turns, bringing us back to our original route. If he had been going his own way, he would have never done this, but sure enough, he followed the whole way, gaining enough on us that as soon as we hit the original street and saw him turn back on it to follow, my brother yelled at me to follow him and we fucking ran our asses off. The guy shouted as soon as we took off, and the 2 times I glanced back, he was chasing at top speed. We did kiddie triathlons with my dad, and thank God we were in good condition because we ducked through street shops, took every alley we could in the next 5 blocks to try to lose him, to no avail. Ended up booking it up 20 flights of escalators to the arcade, and then my older brother dragged me behind the biggest game we could find, up against the wall. We watched him come sprinting up the last escalator, realize he was on a floor packed with children, look around angrily, and then walk back down, absolutely terrified. And this was before cell phones or anything, so we still had to get home. Brother for the win again, hailed a cab out the front of the store with tons of people around, and made the gate guard at base call our parents to come pay for it and pick us up. Needless to say, we stayed on base for a good while after that, because scary Arab kidnapper, let's really not meet. As a side note, I reminded my brother of this, and he said what I didn't remember was that there was a black car pacing us too, and that's why he took us through so many small back alleys to lose the car as well. That makes it way scarier that he had backup. So I was about 18 at this time. Living in Canada, I moved out of my house because I wanted to be free with no rules but my own. So I decided to look for a place to stay that wasn't too expensive. I found some places, went to see them, but they were $1,500 for a basement apartment. Being young with not too much money, I thought maybe I should just stay with my parents. So as me and my friend were walking to the bus talking about it, some random guy came out of nowhere and said he had a room in his basement for rent. I looked at him and he looked pretty normal. So I said I'll check the place out. He gave me the address and my friend gave me a ride there the next day. We looked at it. It looked really nice and I thought this must be expensive. We'll call this guy Fred. I asked him how much to rent. He said $300 a month. I thought no fucking way. I told him I would think about it. So the next week or so, I thought, who the hell charges that cheap for rent? Being dumb and young, I said maybe he just needs help, or he is lonely. I was so wrong, and I regret it till this day. I moved in that weekend and felt really good. On my own, no one to tell me what to do. Well, the first few weeks I was barely at home, either working, gym, party, and so on. I came home one night drunk and felt off, like something was watching over me, but shook it off like I was just drunk. The next few days I had friends over and I went out to get some smokes for us. I really trust them alone in my place. When I get back, they're outside waiting, so I said maybe they really wanted smokes. They saw me, ran over and said, "Dude, there was someone laughing in your wall." I did not believe it. I thought they were high as fuck. Then after they ran out, Fred left and said, "Hope you guys are having fun," and smiled strange. Fred then said he would be back very soon. Well, they wanted me to move the fuck out, but I said it's really cheap. We were all outside debating, but one friend, my best friend Mark, went in and broke into this room. He came out after 10 minutes, white as a ghost. I said, "Where were you?" He said, "We need to grab your stuff now and leave." I said, "No man, it's okay, just chill out." He literally put all my stuff in his truck and forced me in. It would not tell me what he saw. Finally, about 3 weeks later, he told me what happened. He broke into Fred's room and saw holes in the wall at my bed area. He said there were pictures of me sleeping. He said the worst part was his room was empty and he was living in a crawl space. We called the police but never heard from them again. I have been living at home because I have trust issues with what happened. Every Tuesday after class, I go to my boyfriend's house until I have to leave at 11:45 p.m. to make it home in time for curfew. Keep in mind, we stick to this schedule every single Tuesday and have since the semester started back in August. Now, the thing about my boyfriend's house, let's call him sane, is that we get the freedom to do whatever we want since he lives alone. So if we want to blare a movie at the highest volume or have tickle fights, we can. Whereas at my house, we can't even sit on the same sofa next to each other because it's improper. So anyway, I love going to Sane's house. The only thing about it is that I have noticed that his neighbor that lives 2 houses down has a tendency to watch and follow us. Now this is an at least 40-year-old man that lives alone but always happens to be around. For example, if we leave to go pick up dinner, his car happens to end up at the same place we end up at. If we are playing in the backyard with Sane's puppy, this man's dog always runs over to us, with the man following closely behind. Even on our 9 o'clock walks, he is always outside, standing in the dark just watching. I actually began to refer to him as the Watcher because he is always around. I know you're thinking that I am just being paranoid, but he is literally always around. Keep in mind, I've never actually heard one word come out of his mouth. So this happened last Tuesday. I went to class, got out a little early, and headed straight over to Sane's. I never ring the doorbell because his puppy goes nuts, so I just text him that I am here and usually stand outside for a few minutes, waiting for him to let me inside. As I was waiting, I was looking at all the trees shedding their leaves, when who do I see? You guessed it, the Watcher. Now nothing seemed off. I just felt a little uncomfortable that he was just standing in his driveway, staring in my general direction. I put my head down and texted Sane to hurry up when I see the Watcher's dog in a dead sprint towards me, with him following. Now this is a huge dog that loves to jump and lick. I'm used to big dogs as I own a pit bull lab mix myself, But this dog has an extra 30 pounds on my dog. Anyway, this dog jumps on me at full force and basically flattens me into the grass. I'm trying to get up, but he is standing over me, licking my face, until the watcher yells at the dog to sit. He extends a hand, which I accept, and pulls me up harder than I expected, so I kind of trip forward into him. At this point, I am kind of leaning on him, trying to regain my balance, while attempting to back up, when out of the blue this guy whispers,
"God, I wish I could play with you."
I played it off like I didn't hear him, and asked about his dog after I back up a little bit, which he in return ignored. Instead of answering my question, he stood there and just stared with a smile from ear to ear, right out of a horror movie. After a few more seconds of staring at me, he backed up and ran back to his house with his dog on his heels. Sane finally opened the door and I told him what just happened, which he thought was the funniest thing ever. He started joking around, making fun of me by saying, "Can I play with you?" with the creepiest smile he can give. I laughed this off and we get on with our night. Flash forward to 11:40. I have to leave soon and Sane is out cold, so I decide to let myself out as to not wake him up because he has to get up for work early in the morning. After closing the front door, I start walking through his grass to get to my car. Now it is pretty dark outside because the street light across the street is out, so the only light is coming from the neighbors a few doors down, but I'm used to this. I pretty much always leave when Sane is sleeping, so it's nothing new. I get to my car and press the unlock button when I hear a hello. I figured Sane woke up when I closed the door and wanted to say goodnight before I left, so I turned around. Unfortunately, it wasn't him. It was the watcher. I said something along the lines of, "Are you going for a walk?" or something to spark up a conversation, and shocker, he didn't respond. We stared at each other for a few seconds until I said I had to get going because of my curfew. However, as soon as I said this, the watcher started speed walking towards my car. I figured he wanted something, so I asked him what's up. As soon as he got to my car, however, he pushed me into it as hard as he could. All I could mutter was, "Wha?" before his hand was on my mouth, and he said, "You're alone now. We can play." This scared me and I started to push him away. This guy may be much taller than me, but he is literally a walking toothpick. I pushed him far enough away to say, "Go away now, and I won't tell anyone this happened," in the most intimidating voice I could produce at that given time. "Next time then," was what I believed he muttered, but at that point, all I could really hear was the thumping of my heart. He backed up enough so I could get into my car, and I speed away as fast as I could, skipping every single stop sign in my way. When I got home, I wanted to tell Sane what happened, but if he found out this guy touched me, let alone pushed me, then well, he would likely try to kill him. Sane is very protective of me and does not believe any man should ever touch a woman without her permission, so things would be bad. And the watcher didn't hurt me in any way, so I kept this event to myself. I also didn't tell my parents either because then they would never allow me to go over to Sane's, and that is the only alone time we ever get, so I am gonna keep my mouth shut. I guess the watcher has been watching us enough to realize that we have a schedule and started to plan whatever game he wanted to play. Hopefully I'll never find out what this game is. From now on, I'm going to make sure Sane walks me to my car in case this guy ever tries this again. So message to the watcher, I really do not want to play, and let's never meet again.